What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports, and I'm back to you guys with another 7-round NFL mock draft. In this mock draft, I'm going to be doing the Detroit Lions. Now, before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe. I upload NFL videos and content. And also make sure to follow me on Instagram at JTSports_. Upload more NFL content and videos on there. And make sure to go check that out. Very, very interesting. I'm about to have a little poll, a little competition going on there. Choosing the best players of this draft or the best players at their position in the NFL. So go make sure to check that out. Very nice stuff on there. So let's get into it. My 7-round mock draft for the Detroit Lions. Now the Detroit Lions, they went 6-10 last year. Matt Patricia, Detroit Lions fans weren't really ecstatic about the hiring around this time last year, but I made a video saying give this guy a chance. He went 6-10, so I'm eager to see the jump that he makes from year 1 to year 2 going into this year. Now the Detroit Lions had a very, very, very good free agency, and I actually had them in my top 5 biggest winners in this year's free agency because they had a very good free agency. They signed Jesse James. He filled the void that they had at tight end. They got one of the best pass rushers in this free agency class. And Trey Flowers. They signed cornerback Justin Coleman, who was graded by Pro Football Focus to be the best slot corner or nickel corner in the NFL last year. So they had a very good NFL free agency. Now, the biggest question would be, how will they capitalize off that big free agency class? And how will they do in this year's NFL draft? Now, it's been a lot of speculation. The general manager for the Detroit Lions has said that he will like to trade up in an NFL draft. A lot of people thought that the Detroit Lions will end up trading down. But the general manager said on Adam Schefter's podcast, no, it was Ian Rappert's podcast, that he said that he would like to trade up in the NFL draft. So, with that being said, I'm not doing trades in this mock draft because this is a 7-round mock draft, so there's no trades in here. But with the 8th overall pick of this year's NFL draft for the Detroit Lions, I have them select the linebacker Devin Bush out of the University of Michigan. Now the Lions, they need a linebacker, and Devin Bush will fill that need. He also played college ball near Detroit, playing at the University of Michigan. So I don't see no reason why you wouldn't select him. Now, they also have interest in Devin White. And Devin Bush and Devin White, to me, are pretty similar in their playing styles. They're pretty athletic linebackers. Devin Bush, I believe, ran a 4.42 or a 4.43 at the NFL Combine. He plays sideline to sideline. He's a little bit undersized, but he has a good IQ and instincts at that linebacker position, and also has pretty solid coverage skills. So he would be a pretty good pick for the Detroit Lions with the 8th overall pick of this year's draft. Now, in the 2nd round, 43rd overall, I have the Detroit Lions taking edge rusher out of Florida State University, Brian Burns. Now, the Lions, they need another edge rusher to go along the other side with Trey Flowers, who they signed the free agency, and letting Anza hit the free agency market. Burns will be a good pick at this position in the draft. According to WalterFootball.com, they said that they've spoken to several scouts and general managers around the league, and most of them have Burns graded out to be a 2nd-round pick on their draft boards. Now, some guys said he had him as a late 2nd round, early 3rd rounder. I highly doubt that he would drop anywhere outside of the next 10 picks of the 2nd round. And another guy that they spoke to said that they had him going late in the 1st round. I always had him, since I've been doing these videos for this NFL draft coming up, I had him graded out to be a 2nd rounder myself. Now, Brian Burns, he has very good speed coming off the edge, and he surprisingly, when I was watching film and highlights on him and reading scouting reports from other websites, this guy can actually drop back in coverage. So that's a rare trait that you would see coming from an edge rusher and a defensive end of all positions that's able to drop back and be pretty good in coverage. That's a very rare trait. You don't see that in this day and age of the NFL. You just see a bunch of very, very good pass rushers And that's pretty much all they can do is rush the passer and maybe stop the run a little bit or be very good run stoppers. But you rarely see a defensive end that is very good in dropping back in coverage. Very rare in this day and age of the NFL. So in the third round, 89th overall, I had them selecting the offensive guard Michael DEITER out of Wisconsin University. Now, the Detroit Lions, in my opinion, have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. I probably rank them in the top half of the league in that department, probably around that 13th to 15th range. And they lost guard TJ Lang. Now, Michael DEITER, he will be a plug-and-play starter. He's a great run blocker and solid in pass protection, even though he never really played against any elite pass rushers in college. So that's my only question mark about him is how would he hold up in pass protection, really. But I think he'll be a pretty solid addition for the Detroit Lions, and I have him going there with the 89th overall pick. Now in the fourth round, 112th overall, I have them selecting cornerback JOEJUAN Williams. Now, he played for Vanderbilt. This cornerback position for the Detroit Lions, I think they could use one more corner. Now, they do have Darius Slay, who is one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL. They signed Justin Coleman in free agency, who was the best slot corner in the NFL last season. And they do have Tease Tabor, who has potential, but he did struggle a lot last season. Now, Williams could add some competition and depth for the Lions at that cornerback position as he has good size, and he got the better of projected first-round wide receiver A.J. Brown, including the game-winning interception versus Ole Miss. So JOEJUAN Williams was probably one of the most underrated players in the SEC last year. He didn't get a lot of attention because he plays for the University of Vanderbilt, but I think he come in for Detroit and add some depth at that cornerback position for the Detroit Lions. So in the fifth round, 147th overall, I have them selecting a defensive tackle, DeMarcus Christmas, out of Florida State. Now, Christmas at this point in the draft, I think in the fifth round, he will probably be the best run stopper out of all the defensive tackles at this point in the draft. Now, Christmas, he's a good run stopper, and he would be very good alongside Snacks Harrison. Now, the Detroit Lions, when I was reading on a bunch of Detroit Lions websites and blogs, other than addressing the edge rusher and the linebacker positions, the Detroit Lions want a guy who they can put at that nose tackle position alongside or side by side Snacks Harrison, and those two can actually do work and stopping the run up the middle. And Christmas will do just that. Now, I believe they might want to have a little bit more heavier guy at the nose tackle position to go along with Snacks Harrison because he's a pretty good guy as well. But, I mean, DeMarcus Christmas is 294 pounds. So, if you're looking for a guy who's 300 pounds, I mean, all you just have to do is add at least 10 more pounds to him or 6 more pounds. It really shouldn't take that much to add a little bit more weight on him if you want to get him over 300 pounds. Put him in that nose tackle position, and him and Snacks Harrison could do work. Now, in the sixth round, 185th overall, I have them selecting their first skill position of this draft, and I have them selecting one of my favorite players in this year's draft, wide receiver Emmanuel Hall out of Missouri. Now, the Detroit Lions have a below-average group of wide receivers and nobody dynamic who can make those big plays after the catch since getting rid of Golden Tate. Now, they signed Danny Amendola, but the Lions could use a lot more weapons at that wide receiver position and give Matthew Stafford some good quality wide receivers to throw to. He hasn't really had the elite Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver since Calvin Johnson. Golden Tate, he was elite, but he's not Calvin Johnson. He's not a top 5 wide receiver. I don't even think you could consider him top 10. But Emmanuel Hall, this guy is a speed demon. He ran a 4.39 at this year's NFL Combine. He also has good size at 6'2". He also averaged 20 yards per catch during his college career at Missouri. Now, the only downfall about him is that he needs more overall polish in his game, but he should be a pretty productive wide receiver too at the NFL level. And probably in about 2 to 3 years, I could see him potentially become that number 1 wide receiver for the Detroit Lions. Now, with their second 6th round pick of this year's draft, 206 overall, I had them taking another wide receiver out of Ohio State University, Terry McLaurin. And you guys are probably saying, why you have them taking back-to-back wide receivers? You can never have too many good wide receivers on your team. And I believe that at this point in the draft, you can't pass up on the wide receiver like Terry McLaurin. This guy is another speed demon. He ran the 4.35 at the NFL Combine. He's also someone who can make big plays after catch or make those big downfield deep catches. And Matthew Stafford does have the arm to make those big downfield throws. And he also runs pretty good routes, which is a rare thing that you see with these wide receivers being taken in the later rounds of the draft, like fifth rounds and later. You don't really see wide receivers that have polished route running skills or good route running. Most of the time, you just see big body wide receivers get taken late in the draft that have good size and speed, but they don't really have good route running. Terry McLaurin is rare in that department because he runs very good routes, and I don't think the Detroit Lions could pass up on another good wide receiver. And I think wide receiver is probably their biggest need on the offensive side of the ball. So Terry McLaurin would be a very good guy, very good pick for the Detroit Lions. Now, the last pick of this year's NFL Draft, 226 overall, I have them selecting quarterback Brett Rypien out of Boise State. Now, Rypien doesn't have a great arm or mobility, but he does have a high football IQ and good accuracy, and better accuracy than what you expect out of a quarterback that you're drafting in the 7th round. Now, the Detroit Lions could draft him and have him compete for a roster spot, and maybe he can become a serviceable backup quarterback for the Detroit Lions. And then maybe, 3-4 years down the road, maybe he could become the starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions. So, it's the 7th round. You're just looking for guys to bring in the camp at this point and guys who can make the roster and contribute. So, let me know what you guys think about my 7th round mock draft for the Detroit Lions. Make sure to like the video and subscribe for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.